Shabbat Shalom. It's good to have you with us, whether you're here at TBI or you're at home joining us on Facebook or YouTube. It's nice to take a moment to take a breath and to embrace Shabbat. Cantor Paul is away for a few weeks, and so I'm really happy to introduce Rabbi Cantor Rebecca Mirsky, who's with us, and I wanted to just thank Rebecca for being with us and helping us out during this time. Rebecca's been with us before, but it's been a long time.
It's been a while.
A lot of years, but she has been here before. And we're going to start with, on page 24 in our Siddur, in our prayer book, with Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Bochem leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeidchem leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We turn back to pages 2 and 3 in our Siddur. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, So may we in our own day be among those who can delight. Our blessing over our Shabbat candles is on page 2. I invite those who are able to please rise.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
You may be seated. Turn to pages 20 and 21 for L'chadodi, and as is our custom, before we enter into L'chadodi, we take a moment to reflect on the week that has passed, to pause on each day and to think of its blessings and its challenges, to renew ourselves, to take a breath as we get ready to continue to welcome Shabbat. So let's take a moment for a review of the week. We will sing together verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And when we get to verse 9, those in the sanctuary can rise and face the doors from which we entered, and those at home turn to face the entry to your home to welcome the Shabbat presence and the nishama yetera, the extra soulfulness that travels with us during Shabbat into our hearts and into our lives. L'chadodi.
L'chadodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 Bnei Shabbat nekabla L'chadodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 Bnei Shabbat nekabla Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad Hishmianu el hamiuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad L'shem u'tiferet ve'letila L'chadodi likrat kala yalalai 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 Bnei Shabbat nekabla L'chadodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 Bnei Shabbat nekabla Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki mekor habracha Merosh mikedem nesucha Sof maaseh במחשבה תחילה לחדודי לקראת קלה יללי 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 בני שבת נקבלה לחדודי לקראת קלה יללי 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 בני שבת נקבלה התעוררי התעוררי כי באורך קומי אורי 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 שיר דברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה לחדודי לקראת קלה יללי 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 בני שבת נקבלה דודי לקראת קלה, יללה, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום, עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי קטקלה, יללה, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, יללה, 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 בני שבת נקבלה.
We continue on page 26 with Chatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
Amen.
ילמד יפרח חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב וימרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם עולם מעל מיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה לעילם ינחו ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמי רן ביעלמה וימרו אמן.
Baruch Hu, our call to prayer, page 28.
Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam vaed. Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai.
Last three lines in the Hebrew on page 30, El Chai V'Kayam.
El Chai V'Kayam, Tamid Yimloch Aleinu, Leolam Vaed. Baruch Ata Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Amen. Page 32. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people, Israel.
Yehavtacha al tasir mimenu leolamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael 34 and 35.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
You may be seated. Continue with Ve'ahavta, page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem, Emet. Page 39, bottom of the page. Please join with me in the indented text. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Page 40, Michamocha.
Who is like you, Adonai? probably don't know this, do you? You might not, but there's some parts of it they're really fun, and that's why I like it. It just goes like this. Yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 lai. I'll do that a few more times till you get it. Yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 lai. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nehedar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot o sefele, nora tehilot o sefele. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai. Malchutecha ra'u vanecha bokei hayam lifnei Moshe uMiriam ze Eliya anu v'amru ze Anu v'amro, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai. Adonai, Adonai yimloch, Adonai yimloch, leolam va'ed. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nehedar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot o sefele, nora tehilot o sefele.
Going to continue on page 42 with Hashkivenu as we ask the Holy One to shelter us with a Sukkot Shalom, a shelter of peace, and that we lie down with a sense of wholeness each evening and rise up l'chaim with a sense of purpose each day. Hashkivenu.
So this is also my own composition. The last one was Alana Arian. But this one is actually even easier because all you have to do is sing shelter us, shelter us, shelter us. And you'll know when I get to that. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim l'chaim ufros aleinu Sukkot shlomecha v'taknenu be'etza tova milfanecha. Let us lie down in peace. Help us wake up with life. Shelter us, shelter us, shelter us. Light in the darkness that seems to find us. Heal the hunger in our hearts that binds us. Shelter us, shelter us, shelter us. Shelter us, shelter us. Shelter us, shelter us, shelter us. Erase the anger upon our faces. Blanket us in your good graces. Shelter us, shelter us, shelter us. Remove our hands from the sword of sorrow. Make us grateful for tomorrow. Shelter us, shelter us, shelter us. Shelter us, shelter us. Shelter us, shelter us, shelter us. Shelter us, oh, shelter us. Shelter us, shelter us, shelter us. Ashkifeinu, Adonai Eloheinu, L'shalom, V'hamidenu, Shomreinu, L'chaim.
Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. We give thanks for Shabbat with Vishamru. You'll find it on page 44. I'm so appreciative of Shabbat each week, of the rhythm and the opportunity to breathe that it gives to my life, for the opportunity to reconnect with family, with community, with God, with my deepest self. We join in gratefulness with Vishamru.
Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. B'nei Yuvain, B'nei Yisrael, B'nei Yisrael, Odi leolam. Vishamru B'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheishet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et haaretz. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. U'vayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam.
Prayer may not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, rebuild a weakened will. We turn to the beginning of our Amidah, page 46. I ask all who are able to please rise.
Anananananana, Adonai. Anananananana, Sfatai tiftach. Anananananana, Ufi Yagid. Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Anananananana, Adonai. Anananananana, Sfatai tiftach. Anananananana, Ufi Yagid. Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Anananananana, Adonai. Anananananana, Sfatai tiftach. Anananananana, Ufi Yagid. Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha.
Page 48.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot U'Mevi Geula Livnei Bneihem Le'ma'an Shemo B'Ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Ezrat Sarah.
Page 50.
Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai Mechaye HaKol Atah Rav Lehoshia Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem Mechalkel Chaim V'Chesed Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim U'Matir Asurim U'Mekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Michamocha Ba'al Gevurot U'Mido Melach Melech Memit U'Mechaye U'Matzmiach Yeshua V'Ne'eman Atah L'Chayot HaKol Baruch atah Adonai Mechaye HaKol.
Page 52. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. Please take a few moments for silent prayer for the text of your own heart. Whenever you're through, please feel free to be seated. page 60.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov b'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
Shabbat Shalom. This week, as we continue our journey through the book of Bereshit, the book of Genesis, we come to Toldot, and it's the story of twins, of Jacob and Esau. Rebekah has two children who are competitive from prior to birth, according to the story, right? Jacob's name, according to the story, Yaakov, comes from Ekev, which is the heel. He is grasping onto his brother's heel as they're being born, trying to be born first. Esau gives Jacob, a little later in this story, Esau gives Jacob his birthright in exchange for some stew. Isaac plans to bless Esau, his firstborn. Rebekah and Jacob deceive Isaac so that Jacob receives the blessing. And as the Torah portion ends, Esau threatens to kill Jacob, who then flees to Haran. So it's a story about a harmonious family and the life that they lead. There are two themes sort of that play out throughout this portion, and they are blindness and deception. In fact, the second, deception, is central to the whole rest of the Genesis narrative. What is striking about the tone of this narrative is the total absence of any judgmental attitude toward the behavior of the protagonist, even though, and perhaps because the editorial assumption of the text is that God's hand, right, is behind the proceedings. Though God's involvement remains hidden, the narrator is free from having to pass judgment on what is transpiring. Instead, the actors in this story are portrayed as if they're behaving in a thoroughly natural way. They do what people typically do. What remains striking is the kind of richness of the characters that are portrayed. First, Isaac. Conventional wisdom is that of the three patriarchs, Isaac is the least fully formed. He's almost a shadowy figure. It has been suggested that Isaac never existed at all, that he represents just a symbolic bridge between the monumental father and his complex son, Jacob. But this assumes lots of things, including that Abraham and Jacob are historic personalities, which, of course, is just as equally open to question. Isaac's depiction is interesting. If you look at just this last, many of you know I haven't had access to my office. It got flooded in June, and so it's still almost done. But but I was in the library talking to Debbie Klein, and we were looking at these books down there, and one of the things that's down there is Ginsburg's Legends of the Jews, which is a multi-volume book of midrashim, of Jewish legends, right, that are connected to Torah text. And interesting, if you look at Legends of the Jews, part 5 is devoted to Abraham, and part 6 is devoted to Jacob. Where's Isaac? He is portrayed in the very last chapters of the Abraham material and in the first chapters of the Jacob material. In other words, Isaac seems to have no real independent identity beyond his relationship to his father and to his son. Nothing revolutionary happens in Isaac's times. It says that he redug the wells of his father. His is an age of stability, of consolidation, a plateau between the towering experiences of his father and his son. But, of course, we also need periods of consolidation. They enable us to integrate what we've learned, to internalize it, to prepare to transmit it to those who follow us. Isaac was also, at least according to the story, blind. Or was he? The text contains lots of hints that Isaac knew perfectly well that it was Jacob who stood before him, looking for the blessing and not his beloved Esau. Maybe it doesn't seem as if it was Isaac's failure was an intellectual blindness, but rather perhaps an intuitive reaction to for who he was as a personality who couldn't confront his son or his wife and deal openly with their trickery. Isaac was blind to the fact that failure to deal with conflict simply perpetuates the conflict. It never resolves it. Rebekah, on the other hand, emerges as the most rounded of the matriarchs. Isaac seems shadowy, but Rebekah is a fuller figure. Her behavior reminds us again that these biblical women are strong-willed and self-assured and competent human beings. She clearly loves her husband, by the way, the only place that it talks about in the patriarchs that the spouses, it says they loved each other, right, in the text. But she also understands her sons, and she is determined to protect Isaac against himself. She knows what needs to be done and proceeds to do it in whatever way is available to her. Jacob is the deceiver. That is his name and his role, a role that clings to him throughout his life. For the message of Jacob's story is that deception leads to more deception. Jacob will suffer many times because people deceive him. Laban, who gets him to makes him marry the older sister before the younger sister and deceives him. Later, his sons, and then finally, his beloved Joseph. The full irony emerges only in the later tradition when Esau becomes identified first as the father of Amalek, and then later with Rome, enemies of the Jewish people, and still later identified with Christianity. The theme of Christian suppressionism, that God's covenant was designed to supersede, with covenant through Jesus was designed to supersede that with Israel, becomes, in a sense, identified with Esau. That's Esau's ultimate revenge of Jacob. Only with the past few years, in the writings as some Christian theologians, is those readings of Christian texts being challenged. Finally, there's Esau. There are precious few hints of sympathy for Esau in rabbinic literature, but the biblical narrative itself captures the full measure of him as a human being who's wanting of appreciation and love. His wild and bitter sobbing, it tells in Genesis 27, when he hears of Jacob's trickery, is a powerful emotional outburst in the Bible. His anger at his family is clearly justified, and Rebekah is terrified of the potential destructiveness of that anger, which is why she orders Jacob to flee. Esau is the rough and tumble, rough-hewn, gruff, tanned, and hairy person who works with his hands, an outdoorsman. Perhaps it is, through much of Jewish history, our discomfort with Esau, that we were more comfortable, since we Jews have been more identified as Jacob's, indoorsmen, people who teach and study, hold white-collar jobs, other kinds of things like that. But we know that part of Zionism, part of other movements was getting back to working with our hands and being engaged in different ways. There's a paradox, is that the history of the Jewish people is much more that of Esau, who is the supplanted one, than it is that of Jacob, the supplanter. Jacob's triumph was short-lived. Throughout Jewish history, right, it's the Jews who often were pushed out or supplanted by others. And so perhaps it is Esau's sobs that echoes throughout the generations of Jewish existence. As we read this story, the characters come to life and reflect our own experiences and the own challenges that are out in the world. And we can hear their voices in our own lives. Shabbat Shalom. We're going to turn to prayers for healing, page 253.
Mishaberach Avoteinu, Avraham, Yitzchak, veYaakov. Mishaberach Imoteinu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, v'Rachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer.
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 Hear our prayer. And
Bless us
as well. Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by the power of your love.
We ask for blessings upon Rebecca Gilman, Hannah Fields-Austin, Sue Tobak, Paula Steinbach, Rosalind Lefkowitz, Helen Weinfeld, Pam Poliakoff, Connie Shapiro, Kathy Blumenfeld, Caitlin Antrim, Judith Bosworth, Kathy Brewster, Jennifer Rudin, Marion Snyders, Kimberly Zimmerman, Brad Holland, Beatrice Caden, Meg Silton, Serena Postal, Bobby Kay, Marilyn Freeman, Robert Strober, Marilyn Lubarsky, Joe Kummerman, Ellery Einstein, Ken Mitchell, Patricia Kramer, Bavini Feldman, James Cecile, Esther Bespris, Joan Morse, Nomi Kravitz, Craig Sachs, Simon Saul, Blair Pollock, Myra White, David Grossman, Ruth Bornstein, Daniel Brewster, Lori Snyder, Jeremy Knoller, Charity Raise-A-Day, Mike Klein, Lily Morrison, and
מי שברך אבותינו, אברהם, יצחק ויעקב. מי שברך אמותינו, שרה, רבקה, לאה ורחל. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well.
if you have a birthday in the month of November, we want to celebrate you today. And if you're at home, we celebrate you too, but you don't get a birthday gift. So for those of you for December birthdays, come and you'll get your gift. So there you go. So we're going to sing a quick happy birthday, and then I'll ask anybody whose birthday it is in November to just rise where you are. I'll offer you a blessing, and then I have a little birthday, our Temple Beth Israel traditional birthday treat for you as well. So here we go.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
And many more.
So if you have a birthday in November, please rise. All right, well, we wish for you, both here in the sanctuary and those at home, if you have a November birthday, we wish for you a year of health, a year of blessing, a year of goodness, a year of growth of spirit and of wisdom. And we offer the blessing of our tradition. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and may God keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God's light shine into you and through you to others, and may God always be compassionate unto you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha ve'asem lecha shalom. May God and all that is good be present for you in your life. May you find shalom, wholeness, and peace in your heart, in your family, in your community. And may we join with others to bring our world closer to wholeness, to peace, to shalom. And we all say together, Amen.
Amen.
And let's sing one more round with Yom Huledet as I give out our gifts here. Here we go.
Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach.
It's my birthday too on Thanksgiving Day this year, November 25th. So, and I just want to thank Mark Feynman for our continuing partnership. He does the chocolates for our pencils, and has been doing that for many years for us. And even after Linda and Mark moved to Oceanside, continue to provide the chocolates for us. So thank you, Mark, and for your lifetime of support and love of Temple Beth Israel and our community. Who is our board representative today? Dina. You know, when we were online, I always got told so we could send a link. And now I'm not always sure. So here we go. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Greetings from the Board of Trustees. We welcome all of you, and we're glad you chose to share your Shabbat with us, whether you're here in person or online. We offer our gratitude to Rabbi Kupitz for leading our service tonight and offering his wisdom and insights about this week's Torah portion. Thank you especially to Cantor Rebecca Mirsky for lending her beautiful voice tonight to lead us in music and prayer, and to Dr. Randy Polivoy for sharing his musical talents, to Claudia Gonzalez for her technical support, and to our ushers and greeters, Phyllis Blackie and Sharon Sachs, Judy Rose, and President Laura Zuckerman. We have many events coming up in the next few weeks at Temple Beth Israel, all of which are in your weekly Temple update emails that comes out on Thursday afternoons. I will highlight a few of them. This Sunday morning at 9:30, the Brotherhood presents a concise history of poker, led by tournament-winning poker player Dr. Bruce Grill, who will give a virtual presentation to cover poker strategies as well as a history of the game, including its Jewish influences. From now until December 11th, the Jewish Federation of the San Gabriel and Pomona Valleys is hosting a series of informative and entertaining virtual book talks for the Jewish Book Festival. If you haven't yet registered, you can do so at www.jewishsgpv.org. There are many books of all types and for all ages, so you're sure to find one of interest to you. And on Tuesdays, we invite you to join Rabbi Kupitz's engaging and enlightening Shalom Hartman series on Jewish ethics. Even if you haven't attended the sessions from the start, you can feel free to drop in on any Tuesday evening on Zoom at 7 p.m. And if you're here in person, feel free to pick up a free box of Hanukkah candles on your way out. Another incentive to come in person. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Dina, and thank you to our entire Board of Trustees for all the work and support that you give to Temple Beth Israel. Only other thing is just keep an eye out. We are planning special Hanukkah celebrations, both for our families and for our congregation in general, the first Shabbat in December. So just keep an eye out for information on that. It's very soon. Hanukkah starts the Sunday of Thanksgiving weekend this year, so it's going to creep up on us, so pay attention. Here we go. 282, middle of the page, Aleinu L'Shabeach, and ask everybody who's able to please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
287.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Page 294. take a moment to remember those who have been important in our lives and have left this earth, those who have died in recent days or at this time in years past. Remember the recent deaths of Ray Haynes, stepfather of Liz Fields, Ed Portnoy, father of Andrea Week, James Mack, husband of Petra, son-in-law of Simon Saul, Gabrielle Silton, Rabbi Art Levine. We remember the Yortzites, the anniversaries of the deaths of Hannah Cohen, Francis Epstein, Edward Ginsburg, Florence Gold, J.M. Kelber, Rose Kelber, Sam Mallam, Jesse Nathanson, Jack Parness, Sam Pastor, Alice Zuckerman, Ida Braverman, Robert Bach, H.E. Bornstein, Pauline Chalmer, Max Saul Chesler, Morris Englund, Bertha Ann Goldstein, Bella Hain, Irving Herman, Molly Lewis, Ruth Mendelson, Jean Rosenblum, Rachel Wager Lacrosse, Rose Arnold, Jack Blake, Rose Levine Buxbaum, Elaine Esbit, Alice Schreiber, Lillian Ruth Wine, Edith Bailey, Ann Baker, Rose Levine Buxbaum. She's on there twice. Edwin Greenfield, Robert Hudson, Samuel Kaplan, Sarah King Stromberg, Sonia Blakeman Lisker, Joseph Mock, Gladys Robinson, Mildred Seraphin, Myron Schrago, Sophie Abramovitz, David Alperin, Ronald Kramer, Norton Levy, Mitzi Lipset, Sandra Mast, Bill McAdams, Samuel Slimowitz, Joseph G. Stone, Lillian Abrams, Joseph Blenman, Arnold Bogatz, Al Glazer, Judith Isaacson, Seymour Joseph, Dr. David Rotner, Sev Schleicher, Fritz Silton, Jack Edwards, Alicia Janine Fenton, Agnes Hunter, Joan Croft, Sydney Weiss, and we join in the words of Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, b'alma divrach hirute v'amlich malchute, b'chayachon v'yomachon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agalau v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam ulomei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shmei d'kudesha brichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechemata, da'amiram bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for blessing. Page 321, Beyado.
Beyado avki ruchi, Beit Ishan ve'ayira, Adonai li velo ira, ve'im ruchi geviati. Adonai li velo ira. My soul I give to you, my spirit in your care. I shall not fear, hold me in your hand. Draw me near, I shall not fear, save me in your hand. My soul I give to you, my spirit in your care.
Hold me in your hand. Draw me near, I shall not fear. Save me in your hand. Join in Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. V'shabbat kodsho be'ava uvratzon hinchilanu. Zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom tehila lemikra'e kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim. Ki banu v'charta, v'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, v'ahava uvratzon, Hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mikadesh HaShabbat. L'chaim. So for those of you at home, please, if you have a little bread, you can grab it. For those of you here, we'll have bread for you as you go out in just a few minutes. And we will join in Hamotzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Shabbat shalom out in virtual world. We'll see you soon.